time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to. Lots to talk about. Infrastructure Week. Yes, it is Infrastructure Week. I remember there was a 4-year span where we had Infrastructure Week like every week. There were tons of displays, tons of stuff going on, lots of photo ops. Trump with the little hat and the shovel, driving a truck, playing with levers. Lots of PR stunts. Lots of stuff going on to make you think, hey, they're doing something. They're rebuilding America, and yet not a thing got done. Lots of rhetoric, lots of talk, lots of tweeting. Not much action. And I look at the fact that it's been 18 months since the president signed the infrastructure bill into law. And over those 18 months, they've announced somewhere around $200 billion in funding for what they're saying are 32,000 projects across the country in all states, not politically motivated, not, no, you didn't vote for us, nothing for you. No, actually looking at getting stuff done. And now here's the thing. What I love about what the administration is doing, 83% of us, 83% of registered voters, both sides of the aisle, no aisle, think we should be making the stuff here. Like here, like made in America. If you're going to use steel in the bridge that we're going to drive over, maybe here. Just a thought. Because you want that reverberation effect. You want those jobs that will come out of this spending to be, here. Because we've got some job issues, especially the kind that pay a decent living wage, like a lot of my building trades, construction folks, the wages that they earn. Again, I said this January of 2017. Had Trump come out and said, we're going to have massive investment in infrastructure, because you remember, he was talking about $2 trillion at the time. He was talking a huge, massive amount of money. Back then, I said, if he does this, if he goes and he does infrastructure in a big way, I'm a big supporter, big fan, think we should be doing it. He would have gotten reelected he would have gotten elected without question, in my view. But they didn't. They chose the political, they chose the show, they chose the flash without actually doing the work. And this is where I give Biden credit. They talked about it, they got something passed, and they're doing it. Not a lot of fanfare. In fact, I haven't seen my idea anywhere, which is giant 20-foot Joe Biden signs with, hey, I did this. I haven't seen that. I'm hoping they come around to it, because I think we need to do some of that stuff. But this administration is just about getting the stuff done. And what they're doing it with, in creating jobs that can't easily be outsourced and are probably going to be around for a while. I don't know that robotics and AI are going to be able to take those just yet. And sadly, we're heading towards an era, and this is where I'm really concerned, because, I've had some of these conversations recently about jobs in the future. And what's interesting to me is, while Democrats and Republicans have finally gotten their heads out of where on bad trade deals, and again, I give Trump credit. He had his thumb on the pulse. Our trade deals, something I've been screaming about for decades. He didn't actually do anything about it. Look, I'm okay. I liked what they got accomplished in the USMCA. I think that was good. It was a step in the right direction. I like the fact that there were some tariffs on China, not much else. But finally, everyone's kind of coming around. I think the pandemic had a little bit to do with it as well. You need local local manufacturing. You need local supply chains. Now, my problem with this is it's coming at a time when robotics and AI seem to be coming more and more online. So the money that we're going to spend reshoring manufacturing could come at a, well, really no job increase kind of format. And this is where, my mind goes into this weird spot, because I had a conversation with a couple of my union buddies, and it's a conversation that, I have this a lot, but this time somehow it stuck with me. Because one of the guys, said, in 5 years, I don't care what happens, because he thinks he's going to be okay. He thinks his pension is going to be there because he's got a good union pension. He saved a good bit of money. He's going to have Social Security. All of the three-legged stool is strong for him, he thinks. And, I said, look, the sad reality is you've done all the right things and you're probably going to be okay. But there's crisis coming. There's a tsunami of job loss on its way that no one is prepared for. I mean, policy-wise, we've done nothing. When the bad trade deals were being done, and they knew they were going to be bad for the working class. They knew there were going to be, millions of jobs lost. They knew it was going to be bad, which is why they put trade adjustment assistance in. Why they had a policy to say, okay, if you're one of the losers in this policy, we're going to throw you a little bone. Going to give you a little help, a couple of years of unemployment benefits, some education money so you can go get retrained to do some other, much worse paying job. But it was there. At least, there's something. Understand, we don't have trade adjustment assistance anymore on the books. Republicans block that. It is done. There's nothing. You lose your job because of a bad trade deal. Sorry, out of luck, brother. And I've been saying there's got to be something modeled like that, like a technology adjustment assistance. I've been calling for a technology tax for years now. It's something that is getting no attention because we're too busy fighting. We're too busy in the pie fight. We're too busy about who's going to what bathroom or who's wearing a dress, or we're too busy over a book in a library that nobody knew was there until someone got crazy. Look at this outrage. We're fed daily doses of outrage candy to keep us, not thinking about what's really going on. And what's going on is we got problems in the future. So as I was having this conversation, I was saying, look, much like the person I stood and talked to on election night in 2016, who was a very conservative pollster and political operative, said it's going to be interesting watching liberals become states' rights people. We're in this moment of watching, conservatives, I think at some point coming, especially working class conservatives, coming around to the idea that there's got to be some kind of social safety net again. That there's got to be some way, if all the jobs are going to be done with artificial intelligence or robotics or automation or in these ways, there's got to be some way that people are going to be able to eat. And a way of people, when they lose their jobs, finding the next gig. There's none of that yet. And as I was explaining this to my friend who said in 5 years doesn't care about anything, I said, well, what about your kids? What are they going to inherit? What kind of an economy, what kind of job future? I go, when our parents, sent us out in the world, they kind of had a sense of what life could be like for us. When their parents sent them out into the world, it was kind of the same thing. Had a sense. You work hard, you play by the rules, you get ahead. We're now in this weird kind of space where I don't think anybody really has a grasp of what 20 years is going to get. And if the way I'm looking at things, if these reports that I'm reading are accurate, and that half of the jobs we currently do will be gone in 15 years now, what are all these people going to do? And what are industries going to do? Like my union buddy who is in the trucking industry, when all of the trucks are going to be automated, so no need for drivers, and the dock work can be done by robots. There's no one paying into pension plans, so you're one of your legs of the stool gone bye-bye, because the pension's set up on we need young workers to take those jobs and have their career and pay into a pension fund. That's how it works. Same thing with Social Security. In a couple of years, like 7-8 years, if we continue to do nothing, which is what Congress is really good at, they're talking about a 20 to 23% cut in Social Security across the board. So nobody's focusing on that because we can't fix it. Again, we're stuck on who's going to what bathroom or who's wearing a dress or who's doing all this other stuff without talking about what's the future going to look like. Now, my buddies, good friends of mine, ranged from calling me a socialist, then a fascist, and then a communist ultimately in the span of about 20 minutes. Simply because I believe that we need smart policy to distribute the wealth of this country more equitably. And you know me, I'm a union guy, so first it's through work, through the wages that we earn, through strong unions, fighting for better wages, hours, conditions, distributing wealth, kind of the way it was with our grandparents' generation when they were in the heart of their work lives. And then, honestly, by any means necessary, I'm not terribly on the side of universal basic income, but I'm not against it. I'm not against the idea of redistributive policies, whatever they may be at some point. But we're not talking about any of this on the policy level. Now, what's interesting to me is I was watching a clip of Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett was asked, who's winning in this economy? And now I could easily answer that. He is. And that's what he said. He goes, the rich, people like me. He said, we've gone from, and I've cited this before, and this is Warren Buffett saying it. We've gone from 93 billion in wealth to the top 400 on the Forbes 400 in 1982 to $2.4 trillion today. He said, look, as the economy becomes more specialized, he points out that we used to be an agrarian economy. A couple hundred years ago, he said it was very hard to get 20 times the wealth of the next guy because you were a little bit better of a farmer. He says, but, if you're better at some skills, people can become incredibly wealthy today at a young age. And it's not because you earned the money. It's not because you built a steel mill and then earned money to build another one and you built something. He says, today you can capitalize an idea that makes people incredible amounts of money. Now, that's good for a handful of people. A handful of people with good ideas, and we need those. We need entrepreneurs, and we need people who have ideas. For them, going to be great. But for the working class, for the people who get up every day and punch a clock or their idea doesn't catch on, what is that going to mean? What is that going to mean for average, everyday working people? And what it means is a Dickinsonian kind of world of a handful of ultra extraordinarily wealthy people and then a bunch of people in poverty. Now, I came across this infograph that was just fantastic. It's done with World Inequality Database information that points out that, countries treat their wealthy and their poor, very differently. And, they point out that being poor in a place like Slovakia, is almost like being poor here in the U.S., except the country more than twice as wealthy. And they point out that while the median income of the median income is about $75,000, the income for the poorest 20% is down near the Saudi Arabia area, under 15 grand, like 13 something. And they point out, this graph points out that in Norway, income-wise, we're about the same. In Norway, the wealth of the folks there, at the bottom 20%, more than double. More than double. Over 35 grand. like 37 grand. And you go, how's that? How's that possible? Policy. It comes back down to policy. As I say all the time, I believe in sound spending, smart policy. We use our tax dollars judiciously to do the things that we need, and we use policy to make people's lives better. So I'm curious, your thoughts. Are we heading in the right direction? Are you concerned about the future? Are you concerned about the AI tsunami, or what are they calling this? The fourth technological revolution? I'm curious. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Or is this much ado about nothing? And because hey, we've lived through tough times before. We've lived through transitions, and we've come out better and richer on the other side. Except if you're in the bottom, 90% of the economy. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Gonna take a quick break. You missed any portion of the program? Get the podcast. Wherever you find your favorite podcasts, you will find ours. Back after this.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Unions are making a comeback. More organizing in the last couple of years than in a long time. And the Biden administration being more supportive of unions than any president since FDR. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
So Bill writes me, the AI revolution is overblown. It's not going to be as bad as you're making it out to be. There are millions of jobs that can never be done. The building trades are the area that will be least affected. I got to tell you, Bill, I don't know. I was at the convention, the AFL-CIO's convention last year, and each of the trades had their display. I went and I saw the bricklayers had this robotic hand that would pick up bricks, double the size bricks and just move them wherever you wanted them. So no longer do you have to be a big hulking guy to be able to move these bricks around. You got a machine that'll help. It's called the Mule. You look at the smart unions, the sheet metal workers. They've got all of these cool toys. I mean, really, at this moment, helpful technology that in years past you needed to do a lot to be able to do the job. Now I put on the virtual reality goggles and all you saw were all the ductwork in a building wherever the plans were. It was quite remarkable. They got a dog that runs around and measures stuff. They got all kinds of stuff. And they said that what is coming is unimaginable and will eventually replace people. So I'm a little concerned about it. Let's go to the phones. Got Frank in Illinois on line one. Frank, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Rick. Thanks for taking my call. Fascinating subject, I think, about the entrepreneurs. When I was in college, I think they called them idea champions. I used to work for the Bell and Howell company. They used to be a Fortune 500 company. Then they went private. I'm sure you've heard that before. But anyway, back to the idea. I am working on an invention at this time. I just wanted to know your thoughts on any kind of government help for idea champions. In other words, in the form of either a tax break or a tax credit. Let's say, there have to be guidelines and rules. For example, if they went to their patent attorney and they would have to show receipts to the government that, oh yes, here are the bills from my patent attorney. Just wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head, I don't know of any, but I will ask a couple of people that I think might know, or at least they should know. But it's an interesting thought because at the end of the day, my concern is the employment that we're used to, that my generation grew up believing was going to be around. I fear is not, and we're going to all have to potentially be our own business commodity at some point. So I'm interested to see what comes out of that as well. Appreciate the call, Frank.
Right. Thanks, Rick. Bye.
No, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know what the future is going to bring us. I look at the technology and I'm like, there's scary stuff. For instance, they've been talking about, the deep fakes are going to be really, the technology has gotten so incredibly, advanced that the so-called deep fakes, that's down the road. Oh no, I don't know if you've been paying attention. There's been a lot of stuff that's been popping up that has just been there. That you go, how is that? How is that? How did they do that? It's amazing to me. But it's not years away. It's now. And that's the thing. Like I try and tell my kids, what are they going to do in the coming months? In years, what's their future going to look? I don't know. I'm trying to advise them in the best way I can to help the best I can. But it is what it is. It's one of those things that policymakers have done a really crummy job. Honestly, I mean, they've done a really crummy job at preparing us for what's coming. And that's the frightening part in all of this. And why I think at some point we better figure it out. Let's quick go to the phones. Got Pete on line 2. Pete, how we doing?
All right, sir. It's totally off topic. I was just wondering if you saw last night. I saw a commercial on TV last night for Bud Light, and they had the Zac Brown band playing in the background. And I know all the controversy that's been around Bud Light and the stupidity that surrounds it. And I was just wondering if you could find somebody to figure out if that's a new commercial or if he was under contract prior to that. Because I thought if he stepped out and he, really received well with the country crowd, I was just wondering how that's playing with them, whether it was a backlash on his part, saying you're stupid, there's other things to worry about, or whether that was contracted prior to all this going down.
I'll have to look into it. I haven't seen the ad, but I will look for it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Peter. But here's the thing. I mean, I said from the beginning, what a stupid controversy. And one, why would Bud Light throw themselves into it? I don't get why corporate America feels they need to try and pick sides. Do your business. But in this vein, such a stupid controversy. Who cares? And here's the thing. I didn't drink Bud Light, and I guess this is what they were thinking. I did not drink Bud Light ever. I don't think a Bud Light has ever touched my lips until Sunday when my wife and I went out to dinner. And that was me going, I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to have a Bud Light just because of this. Just because how stupid this is. And it wasn't great. I won't have another one, but it is what it is. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Jessica Goodhart's going to be here from Capitol in Maine. Back after this.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. And the Teamsters pushed a law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind. The union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
The best way to strengthen America's economy? How about investing in America's fastest growing industry? Clean energy. It means millions of jobs that pay well and can't be outsourced. And lower utility costs for families. Congress, let's get it done.
It takes a lot to raise a family. A good job, a good salary, and some patience. A lot of people my age are drowning in college debt, but I chose a different path. I'm a member of the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I work hard for my job, and I love what I do. I had a lot of choices for my future, but I made the best choice for my family. IBEW, the right choice.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At the Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right, left, or red, blue, when they are and always have been up, down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people, for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.